So thank you for being with us here at the WAVE Summit. So when we were asked to be on stage, we at Republic thought what should be the theme that we should discuss at the WAVE Summit. And we felt it's appropriate that we discuss on shifting global order and the evolving new media narrative. When I say new media narrative, RT is a fairly young network. Russia Today is a fairly young network. Republic is a fairly young network. But both networks have a huge presence worldwide. They are brands that people have heard of. They know because we are young and we are hungry and passionate, and I have someone very, very special. I have Ruslan Imaev. Ruslan Imaev is the senior editor of Russia Today, and he's the editor for all purposes in India. Ruslan, thank you for joining us. Ruslan has been a part of the RT team since 2014, and over the course of his tenure, he's held various positions in the RT International, which is RT's English language channel, newsrooms. He's managed several online projects for RT in English and has been working on RT's India-oriented content since 2023. And my name is Niranjan, and I'm the executive editor of Republic TV, and I will be in conversation with Ruslan in the course of the next 30 minutes.
Hello, Niranjan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us, Ruslan. So, by the way, RT and Republic have a very, very long association. So when Republic was launched, one of the first global joint broadcasts that we did was with the Russia Today team, and we've had a fantastic relation since then from 2017. But it's kind of unfortunate, I would say, Ruslan, when I look at how the West, and when I say the West, I mean America, the UK, Europe, the way they have treated RT, the sanctions, it hasn't been an easy ride for RT, or for Russia for that matter. But how's it been in the last few years since the war, and how is RT dealing with the sanctions?
Niranjan, first of all, I'd like just to mention that this year we turned 20 years old, and it's quite a big
still way younger than the
us.
BBC's.
Well, but still, it's like it's a big day, big year for us, and that's why we're also taking honor of kind of expanding our presence in India, expanding our content and operations in India as well this year, because it's a particularly important country for us, and we want to be heard and we want to be present here as well. So I'm also honored to be here in Mumbai at this conference and this summit. Speaking about sanctions, I think I can speak not just for myself, but for my colleagues as well. We do take a certain pride in this reaction from the Western countries like the US, UK, and the sanctions they put on us. I remember in 2016, I think that's when this pressure against RT started, shortly after the US elections, when the US accused Russia of meddling and particularly accused RT, right? I was with the US desk news. And I remember I was reading it and I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, are you guys seriously considering us to be like, this powerful, this, kind of reaching out to the audience in the US in this way that we can actually swing election in this or that way? But then I understood that, it's something actually to be proud of, because it does mean that we are being heard and we are being listened to. And if the people, the establishment, the Western establishment sees us as a threat, then, well, I can congratulate myself.
Fantastic. And I should say that I've been following the kind of response that, for example, your editor Margarita Simonian had when there were sanctions imposed on her. And then she said, you guys are pretty late. And it's fantastic. You wear it as a badge of honor. But how has the team at RT dealt with this constant targeting? Do you feel it was done to undermine RT at a time when RT was growing globally?
We, like a bit of a self-advertisement, not myself personally, but my network. We were one of the first, actually the first international network to score 1 billion views on YouTube, like overall, right? So we had huge social media presence, and because I've been dealing with some social media projects, I take those things very personally as well. So last year, when US formally announced sanctions against Russia, all the US-owned, controlled, based platforms, social media platforms, like Meta, YouTube, Google, right? They wiped out RT accounts totally in various languages, all the accounts. And obviously that takes a toll at people because you spend years working on this, right? And then this decision comes, in my opinion, completely insincere, completely weird, to be honest. So it's obviously frustrating, right? But we, at the same time, we also know that then it means that we're doing things right, you know, that we have the presence and people read us, watch us, and listen to us in this sense.
Yeah. And I see that things are going well for RT in India. And by the way, Meta and YouTube are your neighbors.
Yeah.
They are on the ground floor.
I need to go say hello.
You should let them know what you think.
I need to go say hello to them, yeah.
So how's it been? How's the journey been in India? I see that your language has changed. You're adapting to the Indian tone. I love the punchy lines and the masala that RT's, you know, dishing out on social media especially.
Yeah. That's, by the way, a thing that we try to take care of, like try to put more, because obviously we have the most experience in working for the international audience, like the traditional British speakers, like the English speakers, right? But in India, in order to stay relevant, in order to stay interesting to the local audience, because I should say Indian audience is something like, you know, they want
it's hard to get their attention.
It is. Yeah. So without that, yes, it's hard to catch any attention and to have the solid audience for us. So we're trying to adapt to the local market as well. And I should say it's been quite a success for us. We consider it a success story so far.
Success story in India?
Yeah.
And what are your plans? Because I see that if a country like RT, I mean, if a network like RT from Russia comes to India and it sees a huge market here, and that's the whole point of this summit, the WAVE summit, to establish India as a content epicenter. What do you see in terms of potential for an RT to come to India and, of course, create content out of here?
I loved yesterday's speech by Prime Minister Modi ji when he, there is a particular quote that I really enjoyed. He said, it's not just 1 billion Indians that we have, it's 1 billion and plus stories, right?
Correct.
And it's the country and the people whose voices have not really been heard globally, and opinions not genuinely heard or listened to globally. That's obviously changing now with the shifting world order, right? But it's a good time to be here because exactly as I'm saying, Indian voice is becoming more resonant globally, and the world is obviously more interested to hear what the Indians have to say. This is why I think it's good for RT to be here at this point of time.
Fantastic. And you mentioned the existing global order. I still remember one of the most viral speeches of our editor Arnab Goswami when he was at the RT summit in Moscow. I think it was 2015 or 2016, and he referred to the hegemony of the Western media and the need to challenge the hegemony of the Western media. You look at the BBCs and the CNN. I mean, lesser said the better about the CNN, because in the last few years, people of America have rejected a CNN.
Completely collapsed ratings.
Yes.
No viewership.
And BBC. I can tell you that we are proud to say that India has had a huge role in calling out the BBC in all these years, right?
Well, I would say that, I mean, we can all obviously remember the latest case with the media reporting, the Western media reporting on the terrible terror attack happening in India, right? It's those media outlets, they probably want to make the coverage as sterile as possible, right? But at the same time, maybe they don't even want to make it intentionally, right? It's not the kind of decision by an editor or a correspondent to say militant instead of terrorist, right? But those are very deep-rooted institutional kind of habits, let's put it this way, right?
Yes.
I was reading it about the attack, right? I was reading the Western media reporting on it. When it happened, it's kind of, I can explain it to myself because you don't want to misrepresent what's going on, right? When the news are just coming in, when the reports are coming in, you cannot, as a responsible editor, just straight away call it terror attack because you don't know, right?
Correct.
A day on, and I'm still reading 26 tourists were killed by militants. And I'm asking myself, what is this? It's like I'm reading, I don't know, a statistics report somewhere. It almost makes it passive in the sense that, you know, that the tourists are themselves somehow ran into trouble with the militants. Those grey zones, I think, is a good way to put it, should not exist when it comes to terrorism. Terrorism is terrorism.
Exactly. So, you know, there's this classic quote of trying to, some in the media, and when I say some, of course, BBC included, you know, for them, good terror, bad terror was a concept, right? And it doesn't really hurt them until it hits them, it comes home, right? And those biases that we have seen, especially during Pahalgam, one is, of course, the use of words like militant. And I've seen that those deep-rooted biases also show in their reporting of, for example, what happened in Russia and the Ukraine war, right? And what's been your experience of their reporting?
Well, first of all, by the way, talking about terrorism, we all know and we all remember in Russia the way the Western media presented the terrorists, for instance, in Chechnya during the Russia-Chechnya wars in the 90s, early 2000s. They were lauded, or I don't know, praised maybe even, as freedom fighters in the West. People responsible for terror attacks, for killing civilians all across the country, right? Scores and dozens and hundreds of people were killed as a result of their action. And it was not a militant, it was not a rebel, it was a specific, like you target civilians, how it can be that. On a more recent example, and by the way, I would assume it's more or less the same logic that follows, or that they follow when reporting those events in Chechnya, for instance, and maybe now in Kashmir as well.
Yes.
Talking about Ukraine, you know, I think the hardest and the most surprising thing for me was the absolute, like they just blanked completely the part with the Ukrainian attacks against first their own civilians on Donbass in 2014, then as the conflict dragged on, well, in the current war, in the current conflict, the reporting of the missiles hitting houses on civilian houses in Donetsk and the regions as well.
Yeah.
It's as if it's not happening at all.
Yes.
For them, I would assume it's the result of this very clear distinction. We consider Ukraine to be in the right, Russia to be in the wrong, right?
Yeah.
And this dominates their kind of editorial choices. Which, as a matter of fact, I would say I'm fine with, in the sense that, I mean, if the media comes out and says this is our opinion, and this is our editorial position, this is our stance, we don't have to be neutral. Like, we want to have an opinion, we want to follow this opinion, and this is how we will be reporting this conflict, right? But then please stop pretending this neutrality, objectivity.
And they like to give lectures. They love to give lectures.
Yeah. Just then stop pretending that you are neutral. Stop pretending that you kind of, you know, there is like an objective truth that you're following. Because in my opinion, it's fair, it's more honest towards the readers and the viewers. For us, for instance, for RT to present, yes, we are Russia today, right? We are the Russian people working for the international audience. We do have opinions, and the Russian opinion, Russian points of view, Russian views on geopolitics, and we present those opinions. We try to be balanced, of course. We do follow some certain kind of standards and norms, and we are balanced in this way, right? But we do have opinions. We are not objective.
Yes.
And it's fine, it's honest.
Yeah. And I should say that I've seen a lot of posts and articles in the way that the BBC or the CNN covers, or the NYT covers the Russian war, versus how RT covers news in America. And I do see a lot of objectivity even in how RT covers. It's okay. I mean, you do have your opinion, but there is a sense of balance in the way that you cover. So that's just an observation that I wanted to make.
But what about Republic, by the way, if I may ask the question?
Please go ahead.
Like, what's your perspective on those things as a network, as an organization?
This is a famous quote that our editor uses. He says, if you want to just put news as it is, then you should be working in a wire agency and not at Republic. Because for us, we have never pulled our punches, and we feel there is no gray area when you're putting out the news. If people want just the plain facts, then there is the internet, where of course you can get Republic World content as well. But we feel that we want to speak the voice of the people. We want to be a mirror of what the people feel, and that is why we feel there can only be a black and white and no gray zones, especially in news. For example, for many years, Ruslan, and I've been in a newsroom for almost 20 years now, every Friday, a little after 1 p.m., the first breaking news, this is until 2014, 2015, the first bit of breaking news would be stone pelting outside Jama Masjid in Srinagar or any mosque in Srinagar. And I have covered it routinely. There would be a camera fixed there. Our Srinagar correspondent would have a camera fixed there, and you would get a shot of people pelting stones. Mm-hmm. That was the story of Kashmir in all these years, right? And we always said that this terror industry had to be stopped. You had to call out the anti-nationals. We call them anti-national. People hate us because we give these terms, but we call them anti-national because there was an industry until recently of people paying kids to come out on streets and pelt stones. That's not okay, right? And that is why we take a stand on issues, and we feel very strongly about these issues. And when abrogation 370 was abrogated,
2019,
we took a stand on it. We said it's the best thing that could happen to Kashmir. Did it work? Fantastic results until the Pahalgam attack, of course. I mean, I was in Kashmir last year, and I was in some of the most interior areas which have now been closed for tourists, areas like Dudh Patri. It was my first time in Kashmir. I love Kashmir, and I didn't know that there were such beautiful places that existed, right? I felt safe there. But when I saw the pictures of Pahalgam, and when I see those videos still come into our newsrooms, and these are raw videos, and there are many people from different parts of India, and when I see the way they were killed, and now it's proven without a doubt that it was Pakistan, and that is why for years we have said you cannot, and this is one thing that our editor has always felt, not just at Republic, but even before Republic, he has said that talks and terror can't go hand in hand, right? And that has worked. So in the narrative of India, when that story is told many years later, you will see that the stands that Republic as a network has taken has been the stand that has resonated across India and has worked because we have mirrored what people have felt, and we've said it as it is. Sorry, this was about me asking you a question.
No, I'm also interested to hear about your perspectives on things.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be one way, right?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, coming to this question, you were talking about the worldview on terror. I still remember when I was covering the Prime Minister's visit, the Prime Minister of India, his visit to UK, and we were at the Wembley, and there was one of his first foreign visits. And after that speech at Wembley, the Paris terror attacks took place. So I went to Paris. So I was one of the first Indian reporters there, and I was at the site. First day, second day, I think it was second or third day roughly, you just know that the attacks have taken place, and they've tracked down the attackers. They say they're Syrians, and there are French jets already bombing Syria. And when I see their response to terror, and their response to terror that happens anywhere else in the world, that's the bias that I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, it might be a bit of a cliche point at this point, but consider the events in Pahalgam, the terror attack in Pahalgam happening somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
You got to have wall-to-wall coverage on all major Western world networks, right?
Yeah.
With all the details and something. And I'm not even talking about Pahalgam specifically, because obviously this terror attack and the consequences of it have context of a larger Indian-Pakistan relationship and the diplomatic fallout, right? So obviously all the major networks are interested and they're covering it still.
Yeah.
But consider something like that happening in other parts of the world, right? Which are not particularly interesting for the Western audience, right?
Yes.
There would be just a brief mention, right?
For example, I saw that the entire aspect of this attack, people were asked about their religion, they were singled out, and they were shot dead, right? I didn't see the global media speak about that at all. The religious aspect of it was completely blanked out for some reason, right? And that is when, these are times when you know the credibility of the so-called Western media is at the lowest.
I have another thing, to be honest, to mention about this Western-dominated landscape, let's put it this way. Don't you find it boring? Like,
it is.
Plainly boring?
I frankly I don't consume any of their news.
I'm a news junkie. Like, it's my job also, right? So you open up all of the websites, you tune in and watch the news broadcasts, right?
Yes.
And I caught myself knowing, like understanding that I actually know what will be said on any individual story.
Absolutely.
Conservative, liberal, I don't know, YouTube show, podcast, website article. I more or less know what will be the tone, what will be the narrative. Obviously, the details and the research is something I will not be questioning. But the whole narrative that they're trying to build, especially on the international news stories, is more or less the same, right? Where is diversity? It's boring. It's boring. That's why I'm saying it would be really beneficial for all of us to have more, and for the sake of the argument, I'll put it as alternative. But it's not alternative, right?
Yes.
In reality, it should be mainstream, because that's where the global population is, really. And I'm talking about India, I'm talking about Africa, I'm talking about, well, China, Russia, Central Asia, all of those countries. They do need to have a voice at the global stage, and we do need to do something about it.
And why do you think most networks outside of the UK or the US have failed to create that kind of a mark? Of course, I mean, our aspiration as a network, we are a very young network, we're just about 8 years old now, has been to go global, and we are almost there. But why do you think most of them have failed?
With the international audience, okay, we do have success stories as channel as well, like our RT Spanish, our RT Arabic. They're hugely popular in their respective regions, right? And among the languages that they speak, right, that they broadcast in. RT International as well, right? But across the continent and across the nations. I would say one of the core and root causes of this obviously is the English language. It's just the language that connects everyone, and this is the language that everyone goes to. For instance, if you would want to search for a piece of news or an international story, right, you will go and you go. By the way, that's another issue. You Google it, right, and then Google search gives you a lineup of stories. Can you guess which news outlets there will it will be, right?
I mean, I can guess. I can guess then,
Right. See what I mean?
Yeah.
It will not be like, I don't know, Republic TV or RT Link, right? It will be, I don't know, New York Times most likely.
100%. So how do you see, I mean, I want a Russian perspective on that. Do you think there's an alternative to that? The way we know it, because there is today, when you ask about the different mediums available for news channels, there is, of course, there's the traditional television, which is slowing down. It's moving towards connected TV in India. And then there is a digital medium. When you speak about digital, there's just YouTube. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, and then there's Twitter. And you're not available on 3, just on X.
That's my major concern, like answering your previous question as well. Like, now it's RT finding itself on the receiving end of this. Well, I think it's fair to say it's censorship, really, because, for instance, and I'm going into the detail, into the nitty-gritty, and you stop me if you think it's boring, right? But consider a US-based social media giant like Meta makes a decision to ban RT across its platforms on the heels of the American sanctions, right? They don't necessarily have to, in my opinion. Like, the US, as a state, has all the rights to say, we don't want RT here.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I would still consider it to be censorship, but they do have that right?
Yeah.
And then Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, they ban our content geographically, meaning that, for instance, the users in the US will not be able to see it.
Yes.
This I would understand. But
geographically, you're saying geographically you can block it, but it's intolerance. Let me put it that. It's intolerance to sort of blank.
But then you just wipe out all the accounts, right?
Yeah.
Just based on what? Probably a state decision as well. And so we cannot probably call these platforms independent in this sense if they do that.
Yeah.
And now it's Russia.
Yeah.
Finding itself on the receiving end of it, and RT more specifically. But who can guarantee that in a couple of years there will be another diplomatic fallout between the US and some other country, and some media outlets and accounts that these media houses are having will be wiped clean as well.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful tool of control of the global narrative.
So without the Western approval, basically, today, I mean, sadly, even though we are here in India, and we are discussing the need to challenge the Western hegemony. Without Western approval, it's not possible to have a global, powerful media house.
Apparently. And this is why I'm encouraging everyone that I'm talking to, like, if we have the discussion like this, like, for instance, India, it's my firm belief, should have own powerful social media platform.
Yes.
Right? Not just for India, but maybe also for the wider region as well. And maybe that it can be offered to the populations and nations across the global south as well. I think India has all the resources and capacities to do that.
Yes, fantastic. It's good talking to you, Ruslan, and thank you for speaking to us on this subject. We're very passionate about the subject. We feel very strongly, and we feel there is no reason why an RT or a Republic TV cannot challenge the traditional Western media. And I think we've come a long way since the first conversation happened at the Moscow summit.
Yeah.
The Western media has lost credibility and has almost been faded out. But I think it's our time to shine.
Yeah, but do you think it's like how's it progressing? How would you assess it?
I can tell you for a fact that, for example, the Indian government called out BBC a few days back. And I was very happy when they did that, because I broke that story and I said that the government has issued a notice to the BBC asking them for the use of the word militant while referring to the Pahalgam terror attack. It is a terrorist attack, and when you call someone a militant, you're legitimizing these men entering Pahalgam and killing those 26. To say that they were some sort of freedom fighters, no, they weren't. They were terrorists, and it ends there. So I would say, I mean, they have very little credibility and a very limited audience here in India.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Fantastic. Okay, so Ruslan, good talking to you. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.